Oh, good boy, you be sitting. Yes. You're gonna help with the video? No, you're just gonna crunch. Okay. Oh, you are going to help with the video. Okay, buddy. You need to lay down though. You need to lay down. You need to lay down. Yes, hi. Hello, first off, thank you so much for all the support on my last video. We are at over 500 subscribers now, which is amazing, and I appreciate you all, and I appreciate this helper. Thank you, Rock. This is Rock. He's a pretty lab mix. Hello, I'm Mika. Welcome to my channel where I talk about gothy things and just things I like, or in this case, things I don't like. Oh, I like you though, Rock. Thank you. If you grew up like I did, going to the record store, browsing through tapes and CDs, you may remember the familiar record label Cleopatra Records. I am a goth, and so I can weigh heaviest on goth stuff, but I also grew up listening to a bunch of industrial music. And so what I'm saying here is, if you are not a goth or you did not listen to industrial music, please leave comments, leave opinions. I'm actually really curious to know what people think about this. I remember Cleopatra Records as signers of many goth industrial staples like Christian Death and Rosetta Stone and even Leatherstrip. However, the label, which used to be a haven of alternative music, is now rife with controversy and criticism. Oh, thank you, baby. No longer is the label about alternative music, innovation, or fearless creativity, as they claim in their About Us page. The label has, in my opinion, fallen far into the depths of AI and has lost so much of its original soul. Now, you can argue that this has been the case since Cleopatra began releasing compilation albums only available at Hot Topics, so basically the 2000s, but even that has not seen the amount of criticism that we have seen now. For context, Cleopatra Records was founded in 1992 by entrepreneur Brian Pereira. Recognizing a gap in the market, Pereira resolved to bring life to overlooked music by recreating his own record collection through Cleopatra's CD releases. Albums by Kraftwerk, Hawkwind, Pink Floyd, founder Syd Barrett started the record label's loyal following. Cleopatra became a goth and industrial staple soon after, signing first-wave goth icons like Roz Williams from Christian Death and Andy Sex Gang of the Sex Gang Children, alongside second-wave acts like Nosferatu, Rosetta Stone, Leatherstrip, and Electric Hellfire Club. Cleopatra used this influence to create one of the most famous compilations in goth and industrial's history, at least in the US, and this was called the Goth Box. Many goths, including myself, will remember these times as the heyday of Cleopatra Records, even as the label began to sign over hip-hop artists such as SX10, featuring Sen Dog of Cypress Hill, KRS-One, West Side Connection, and DMX, and notably Lazy Bones and his song or album, It's Not a Game. I'm not terribly familiar with hip-hop music, so I also welcome hip-hop opinions. However, the label continued to push alternative music through the 2000s, including many best-of remasters and compilation albums, while goth was at its weakest. I personally remember getting my Raised in Black albums and 69 Eyes albums as reissues of the 2000s, which was great at the time. This, however, was the beginning of Cleopatra's release of artist-backed catalogs like Todd Rundgren, Melanie Williams Shatner, Judy Collins, and Ministry, and as you can tell from that lineup, they had continued to diversify their artists, which can be an essential part of a label's survival. However, in the case of Cleopatra, it was, in my opinion, the beginning of much scrutiny and the loss of reputation for the label. Once a label known for its dark alternative style of music, criticism was bound to rise as Cleopatra signed over more hip-hop styled artists as the popularity of goth and industrial music faded in the 2000s, although we can argue that EBM and industrial was sort of carrying the sound of goth throughout that time, but that's a different discussion. While this alone the signing of hip-hop artists and the deviation from the alternative label is not enough for criticism, it is a necessary part of a label's survival. What we can see throughout this is Cleopatra's acquisition of a great number of bands who come from seemingly out of nowhere, now boasting that they have signed Glenn Danzig, Marilyn Monroe, and even William Shatner, as well as acquiring the punk label New Red Archives in 2012. While Cleopatra has been known for re-releases of compilation albums throughout the years, those albums have been met with scrutiny, at least due to the label's notorious reputation for bad quality control. So as an avid Discogs user, it took only one search to find a slew of complaints in the comments. My 2-disc compilation has 2 of the same disc in it. Atrocious sound, a mud clot would sound better. And the cases falling apart, bad typesetting, artwork is replaced or altered, wrong dates, recording sessions, and terrible audio quality. In my opinion, it is not a good sign for your label when the first reviews of your albums are about how trash they sound. But nostalgia is very profitable, and Cleopatra Records does know how to turn a profit. They have been around since 1992, and you don't do that by being broke. But even so, acquiring these large names requires profit, and compilation albums and best of CDs do not generate revenue like they used to. So what is inspiring this record label to continue to acquire these large names, other than the desire to finally make Glenn Danzig take on his final form as Spooky Elvis? Cleopatra has been an early embracer of AI in the music industry, much to many former fans' hatred. I found them listed on the site for AudioShake, which claims to have given Cleopatra Records the ability to create an instrumental draft mix within a few minutes on the fly. And these were quickly turned around to music supervisors and editors to review before they committed to a placement. However, they seem to be using AI for much more. Most notably, I have seen a deluge in hate towards Rosetta Stone's AI album art, with no commentary from Coral King of Rosetta Stone himself. We cannot yet confirm that this was done intentionally, but Goths have not been pleased with these revelations of the use of AI art. In 2024, Lebanon Hanover's single Abracadabra was also heavily criticized by the Goth community for its use of AI art, which the band has never used prior to this song's release. However, the band appears to have worked with Cleopatra on this single, and it was used for several Goth compilations after its release. The band has since returned to Fabrica Records and has not made a statement on the use of AI art. AI covers were also used in the Human Fly cover by Shooter Jennings, as well as This Cold Night and La Scaltra, with the covers being seen as fans as disrespectful and blaming Cleopatra Records for forcing artists to use AI cover arts due to contractual obligations, calling the art soulless trash, amongst other things. However, some artists on the record label have embraced the use of AI, such as Daniel Ash, who has worked with bands such as Bauhaus, Tones of Trial, and Love and Rockets. However, itching for something new, he has started a new project called Ashes and Diamonds, and in an interview with Big Takeover in October of this year, Daniel Ash gave his opinion of the use of AI art. People are not liking AI, and it's funny because somebody said, apparently I said in an interview that I would never use AI. Don't remember saying that, but I could have said it because I remember not liking it at all at first. It annoyed me. Then I remember seeing some really beautiful artwork on YouTube saying that it was full-on AI. Incredible. And then I remembered having this conversation with Perry Farrell saying, this is all great and everything, but it's so great and wonderful that people are just going to get jaded with all this and go back to acoustic guitars and just sit there strumming as a reaction to it because the sky's the limit. Ash states that the use of AI was deliberately used in the song Teenage Robot and On. He further stated, this is wonderful. It's a great use of AI. It suits the track. The message on the track is basically, can we all get along and throw down the weapons and kiss each other instead? That's the basic message, a very positive message. But then people are saying, fuck AI, we're going to carry on what we do. If a particular song and the AI works on it, we'll do it. But I was shocked at the amount of negative reactions, specifically because it's AI. And it's weird because 6 months ago, I wouldn't have dreamt of doing an AI video, but honestly had the thought, you can't beat them, join them. And I think this is very interesting that we have speculated that AI was used due to label pressure, but we can see here that some people do choose to use it willingly. but also just the extravagant use of AI that some artists may feel pressured to use in their work for ease of creation, to get their work out there. However, as a creative soul myself and someone with artist friends, like my little character is made by my wonderful friend Omega Magus. He is a art streamer and game streamer, so if you like someone who just has a very positive attitude, go check him out. But I do worry that AI images will take away work from a lot of artists, and how much of a slippery slope this could go down. If using AI is allowed in contract, how much further is a label company willing to push to have an artist use AI, or where in the contract does the use of AI end? Well, we can kind of see that Cleopatra has decided to test these limits. Dead Boys, a legendary punk band of the 70s, suffered the loss of their lead singer in 1990, but not only was Stiv Bators the vocalist of Dead Boys, but he was also the lead vocalist of a goth band called Lords of the New Church. This gave the band a positive reputation in both the goth and punk community. Through long hiatus, Dead Boys finally managed to find a new vocalist who was none other than Jake Hort of Alter de Fe, and Alter de Fe is a very famous death rock band and is much loved within the goth community. And honestly, I think that he is just a very good fit for that role given his musical expertise and also just the sound of his voice. Oh, Bobby. You need to stop breathing so loud. Though some fans did not share my opinion and had a difficult time with the new singer, their album, Still Snotty, Young and Loud at 40, did receive great reviews, with Cryptic Rock giving it a 4 out of 5 stars and stating, this is not only for the old punks. In fact, it is also for the budding rockers and hipsters out there in the current scene who are really serious about the know-how of punk and how it once sounded. However, despite this promising revival, it was cut short in just 7 years, not by infighting, but by Cleopatra Records themselves, trying to use Jake Howard's voice as an AI model to recreate Stiv Bators. On Instagram, Jake Howard stated, "The shortest I can get this story is this. Cleopatra said it would be an AI record, but Cheetah assured me it would not," he wrote on Instagram. But the opening line of the contract reads, "Artist has agreed that such performances shall be vocal performances, the performances, in parentheses, utilizing artificial intelligence, parentheses, AI, technologies for purposes of creating works based on the original voice of Stiv Bators to be used on companies' master recordings of the songs." So I said no, Jake Hope continued. "I told Cheetah immediately I would be forced to quit publicly and tell everybody why, that it would probably go off like an H-bomb. This was in August. I reminded him frequently, daily by the end, to no avail. I know that there are gray areas with lineup changes and artistic tools, etc. But there is a massive irony here. I actually sympathize with the no Stiv, no Dead Boys crowd. I get it, I always have, but for me personally, AI is a bridge too far. I always try to do right by Stiv and bring his music to life with heart and blood and passion and spirit. AI ain't got none of that stuff," he concluded. And for me, myself, and I, while I can sympathize with fans' difficulty to embrace a new singer, I can also agree with Jake and his Instagram post. Stiv Bators is not a robot, and in my opinion, it is best to let the dead rest. The usage of AI in this way to create new music of long-gone bands strips the creativity and innovation out of projects, and that is what made these bands so legendary to begin with. It was their short run, the mark they left on the people while they were alive, and reviving these people through AI as a tribute. Is it a tribute or is it profiting off of nostalgia? Well, Cleopatra does sort of seem to be testing these questions. Cleopatra had already been attempting to recreate vocals using AI with singer Steve Marriott of Humble Pie. The English rock band was one of the first supergroups of the 1960s and enjoyed success throughout the 1970s, including in the USA. The legacy of the band is still remembered to this day, as the band was absolutely killer live, according to those who saw them. and it left an impact on those who listened and still listen to this day, with their most famous song being 30 Days in the Hole, which I actually remember hearing on the radio even now. But unfortunately, lead singer Steve Marriott died in a house fire in 1991 at the tragically young age of 44, leaving behind unfinished demos, which in my opinion should have rested with him, but not according to Cleopatra Records and the article I found. After acquiring the rights to Humble Pie, Cleopatra had been trying to work with Steve Marriott's estate to recreate and finish those demos using AI technology. However, the former band members and Marriott's family, including Marriott's singing daughter Molly and her siblings Leslie, Toby, and Tanya, Steve's former bandmates from Small Faces, Kenny Jones, Robert Plant, David Gilmour, Paul Rogers, and Bryan Adams, Glenn Hughes, and Paul Weller are all fighting against this. It sounded like a half-decent white soul singer trying to sound like Steve Marriott, and failing, said Humble Pie drummer Jerry Shirley. However, this seemingly does not matter to Chris France, director of the Marriott estate, who said, "I am afraid that Molly's opinions are of no consequence to me or Steve's estate," and also added, "There is no confirmed plans to use Steve Marriott's voice on AI recordings, but that does not mean a deal will not be done with one of several suitors who have made offers." That's so nasty. Can you imagine just telling this man's daughter, you don't matter in the decisions of his estate. It doesn't matter that you're his child. That's just nasty in my opinion. It is good to note here that the band did initially entertain the idea of AI versions of songs just to show it couldn't be done, and according to the band, it sounded horrible. It lacked soul. Steve Marriott was pure soul. When asked to comment about the use of AI, Cleopatra CEO Brian Pereira stated, "I remain optimistic about the potential of AI music. Just as remixing tracks for the EDM scene and sampling in hip-hop have revitalized dormant pieces, AI has the power to celebrate and perpetuate musical legacies in a respectful and innovative way." Is it respectful though if you're straight up telling like this man's daughter that her opinion doesn't matter? We will see about that.
Fans of Yonkers rapper DMX have been buzzing after new music released was made with artificial intelligence. The two tracks, called Halloween from LA to Miami and Silent Night, were partly made with AI technology specifically trained on the rapper's vocal style. DMX's former record label, Cleopatra Records, released a statement saying agreements with DMX included comprehensive rights to his distinctive vocals, allowing us to explore a variety of creative avenues, including remixes and alternative versions. The 50-year-old rapper died from a drug overdose in 2021.
Cleopatra Records continued with this statement. Cleopatra Records, which has had its hands in other genres from heavy metal to rock to reggae, has worked with DMX since 2010, and during that time, Pereira says, DMX re-recorded a lot of his hits, which appear on X's 2011 project Greatest Hits, with a twist, that was released via its rap imprint in X-Ray Records. Cleopatra also invested in previous releases and obtained several hard drives full of unfinished work. One of those unfinished projects was Silent Night, which was completed in part by using AI. Our collaboration with X was not just a business venture, but a journey filled with respect, creativity, and mutual admiration, Pereira says. DMX wasn't just an artist to us. He was a wonderful person whose presence and talent immensely enriched our work and the music industry as a whole. The label says that their comprehensive deal with DMX was mutually beneficial, and he approved of each and every element, ensuring a clear and respectful collaboration. They also emphasize that he continues to receive ongoing royalties as part of our commitment to honoring his contributions and legacy. But that begs the question, was he in his right state of mind to agree with this if he OD'd in 2021? And from what I read, the fans of DMX were just not pleased with this collaboration altogether. Quote, DMX's label is releasing new DMX songs made with AI on Spotify. Bro, this is so disrespectful, especially when the artist isn't even alive anymore. It's not even good AI, and you can tell it's not DMX. And This messes with his legacy with mediocre tracks like this one mentioned, and majority of people will think that these are legit tracks. I heard them and they are terrible. Production is terrible. Content is terrible. Hopefully Swizz, D, and Wah, those are names, can stop that record label. It's disrespectful. Rip DMX. So I'd like to circle around here and ask, do you think that this was a respectful and innovative way to use AI? Because as of now, the DMX fans don't seem to be feeling it. And in my opinion, it is beyond asking the surviving band members. It is beyond asking the estate. It is beyond asking the fans. It has always been said, let the dead rest. And therefore, in my opinion, reviving the dead with AI technology to create new music isn't respect. And it's not innovation to recreate something that has already been done. In my opinion, innovation is created by people, not by AI. Instead of using AI to create these tracks, would respecting DMX not be enlisting artists under your label to do a tribute album full of different covers? Like, I have questions, but I'm curious as to what you guys think on this. Also, in my opinion, if Cleopatra has spent so much to use AI, and possibly more than one AI, more than one that I had found, to cut costs or to create new music from profitable artists, wouldn't it make sense to use all of those perceived savings into increasing quality, into creating music that sounds better than a mud clod? I would love to know what's going on there. And this isn't to say that AI is completely terrible. I do believe in using AI for things like repetitive task work, like data entry, compiling data, and even rudimentary data analytics. But I personally don't think that AI has a place in art. When computers were brought into the workforce in the 1980s, we were told that it would halve the amount of working hours by the average office worker, and this because of the increase in productivity, and people would be free to spend more time with their families and creating art. However, hi Bubby, we all know that that didn't happen because we still work 8-hour workdays. And so with AI, we are promised the same thing. We are promised increased productivity, possibly less work hours. But we see here that instead of AI being used to decrease working hours, to create a better quality of life, that instead AI is being used to create and recreate art, something that is inherently human in my opinion. So this also begs the question of, is the human element of art most important? What is it that connects art to people? I have met people who say that they do connect to AI art, which I personally don't get, but if you do, that's good for you, I guess. But I am curious to hear other people's opinions. Like, how do you feel about AI art and AI bands and everything going on with what we had just talked about? This is like more of a deep dive that I went into of just a series of things of AI that I think could go down a slippery slope. Like I talked about, nostalgia right now is incredibly profitable, and I haven't seen a ton of all like new bands which have really reached like the ability to do music full time like a lot of bands that I personally know would like to. So I am wary of this AI technology. I am extremely wary of Cleopatra Records, especially in the instance of the estate. I feel for that man's daughter more than anyone, really. So yeah, leave your opinions down below. Subscribe if you would like this deep dive. I am very sorry for the whiny cryy boy in the background, but that is just who he is. He just scream cries constantly. Don't you, baby? And with that, I'm going to close this video. I will try and fix the echoey audio quality, but this room still doesn't have a floor in it. But you know, we're doing our best. So thank you. I am Miko, and signing off, I guess.